All right. So, Joe Martin, welcome to Rappahannock Radio. How are you today?
Very good. Very good to be here.
Yeah, you just played the Festival of Leaves.
I did, yeah.
Downtown Front Royal.
It's been a busy 18 hours or so. I played Pavement for a few hours last night as well. So I'm a little sore, honestly.
Yeah.
But
in your hand or your calluses?
Yeah, the calluses. Yeah. That's but that's a bad symptom of a good thing. So I'll take it.
It's not the worst thing that could happen on a hazard of the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you started playing guitar at age 10 or 11?
11. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Are you from a musical family?
No. My dad always had a good ear for it, though. And the radio was always on in the car, and he would listen to everything from John Denver and ABBA to classical music, Dire Straits, and later on he got interested in kind of modern, 80s, 90s jazz, and so that was a really good environment to kind of get me started in. It set the stage for my later interest by the time I started. When I was 11, my interests were nothing like his. I mean, Def Leppard were gods to me. But
there's still a lot of skill involved in glam rock, people.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't have the hair for it, but yeah. That was I have my dad to thank. I think for setting me up with good music, kind of just going through my brain often enough that it made an impact.
So you are also a software analyst? Is that right?
Yep, I'm engineer, developer. Yeah.
Okay, so right, that's why when we turned on this, you were like, "There's a lot of software in between."
Yes, yeah, I know. Well, it's all our fault, honestly. All the technical problems are the fault of people like me. That's for sure.
I know, and then I'm on there emailing these people like, something happened to my recording, and I'm trying not to be like, over the top, high maintenance, but I'm like, I really need this recording straight. So I'm probably one of those people that bug you.
Oh, no, not at all. No, thankfully, users usually don't bug me at work. Sometimes they do, but it's usually for good reason.
You have, so you went to Ithaca College, right, in New York.
Yep.
And let's skip from being 11 and, getting all these various musical influences from your dad to, you play the saxophone, the drums, pretty much anything you pick up. I saw a video of you on Instagram playing, a gorgeous nocturne on the piano.
That was the Chopin. Yeah.
Yes. I love Chopin.
Yeah, me too.
So, but being a software engineer, and then I see that your album in 1999 where you played all the instruments is called Algorithm. So where's the overlap for you between music and computers?
It's so hard to put your finger on, but it's definitely there. There's something about, it helps me out at work. I think there's something about the arts that I would say hones your entropy detector. That's a strange saying,
entropy.
But
say it again.
It hones your entropy detector. So there's a certain commonality in both music and when you develop software where you have to make it just interesting enough, but you thread this needle where you have to keep it as simple as possible as well.
It has to be relatable.
Yeah, and right, and that's one of the keys to good design is to keep out all the stuff that you don't need and do what you do need to do in the most elegant way that you can. And the arts is kind of like that.
like
somehow, and this is
do
a really
what
tough
you need to
question.
do in the most elegant. Yeah, no, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a good question. I've had 39 years to think about it. So it's and
well, you have your whole life, right? It's a journey of of where's the overlap between science and art. It's sort of like I guess I would say religion or spirituality and science. There's definitely, I feel like there's an overlap there.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, we could probably talk all day on that. Sounds like
we will talk.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get going.
I guess let's start with the title. Why did you name the title of your album Algorithm?
Well, it's a play on words. It's an intentional misspelling. So I put the musical term rhythm in the as partially as the title. But I was kind of waking up around that time. I was 28, I think, 27, 28 when I made the album. And, I was kind of waking up to how, so our genes, right? Our DNA is a digital thing, right? But we come out of it, like there's all this open-endedness to life that pops out of a digital description in our DNA. And that idea just, I talked a little bit about it in the liner notes. And that idea, really, really kind of fascinated me at the time. So I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly, but yeah, I think we're getting there.
Well, I just have to tell you something really funny, and I will edit this out, but you'll appreciate this because I can tell, forgive me for saying, but you might be a little bit nervous, right? I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first, interview back. I've done one gig since being back from maternity leave and having my daughter. This is the first interview. And you know what I did? And I realized you might have seen me. So there's a dot that marks this microphone as to, it's unidirectional. And I had it turned around the other way.
Oh, did you? Cool.
So no wonder I'm like, okay, wait, he can't hear me. I can't hear myself. It's because the just like basic, speaking of being simplistic and trying to, it's like one of those things where, have you ever played a gig and you're kind of like, well, I'm always nervous, right? I think that's part of the fun is, as an artist, you're constantly, like revealing your heart and like putting it on. I've said this, people who listen to Rappahannock Radio have heard me say this multiple times, but like putting your heart on the chopping block and being like, here it is, it's like very healing, but you're constantly exposing yourself. So it's also, wounding at the same time. So it's like one of those basic things where like my guitar isn't working. Is like, is it plugged in?
Right. Yeah.
No,
exactly.
Let's just a simple logic check here. But when you get, wrapped up in time and nerves and stuff like that, it's like, I used to serve a lot as a waitress. And one of the things somebody told me, which was when things speed up, it's good to slow down. And then that way you'll be at the right pace. And I definitely feel that with music as well, because sometimes when I'm performing, I'm like, kind of the nerves are making me maybe play it at a faster tempo.
Yeah.
When actually, if I slowed down, it would be at the right tempo where I might think it's slow for the moment, but it's actually perfect.
Yeah.
So a little sidetrack there, but,
here we are blaming it on software engineers. And,
it's us. Well, those are made by humans, right?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Why did you, so I saw in the notes on your website that you were like, you specifically said you have no regrets of pursuing software engineering versus music. Mm-hmm. I thought that was, I think it's good to have no regrets, but I thought that was really interesting that you noted that. It's like, did you get sick of people asking you like, hey, why didn't you do music? Or what was that all about?
Well, I've certainly never gotten sick of people asking me that. It's always kind of nice to be asked. But it's a common enough question where I kind of felt like I had to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might as well answer the question before people ask it, because they're bound. I mean, a lot of people anyway are bound to. And it's true. I mean, I have no regrets at all. I'm busier with music than I ever have been, really. This summer's been really great.
Yeah, I noticed that you, so Sandra, reached out to me and said, I have this, friend Joe, who's a phenomenal musician, and he has this very, fascinating way of looking at music, which I want to ask you about as well, what she was referring to. What I'm thinking is that the overlap between, the algorithm and, engineering software, like numbers, I guess you're a technical person in that way. But so she said that she wanted you to get out there some more. And it seemed like this summer you just were all of a sudden just racking up a ton of local performances, which is great. What made you want to come out of, I mean, you've played with Sandra before, but
sure, yeah.
All of a sudden you just wanted to like go out and play more? Or?
Yeah. The time is right now because it takes, so what I do is, I come up with arrangements, mostly of rock songs, but some jazz and some classical arrangements, mostly of stuff people know. And it has taken years for that repertoire to accumulate. And it's only been over the past, 3 years maybe, where I have enough for a 3-hour show where I'm not really kind of digging into material that isn't that good,
Yeah, stretching it, scraping the
right.
bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'm kind of, doing an extra chorus here and there. And so the time has been right over the last few years, and I feel like there's this, because my target audience is definitely like late boomer, early Gen Xer.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So if you grew up in, if you came of age, it's always the music that you grew up with that you hold closest to you, right?
Yeah.
And so the people who grew up listening to the arrangements of the songs that I do, their kids are getting out of college now, and but their careers aren't over. They haven't retired yet, so they've got money to spend. And I'm just demographically, I'm thinking, gosh, maybe this is the time to make that extra effort, not necessarily to quit my job or anything, but to just do as much as I possibly can and see how far I can take it. So I just feel like I'm at the beginning of that, and
so you feel sort of like you're being called to go out and share these songs and these arrangements.
It's not, I can't claim it's a calling, but demographically, there's a confluence between, people who like the music that I make suddenly having a lot of time on their hands, and me being able to make it, I think. So. Okay.
Suddenly having a lot of time on their hands to be listeners, to be.
Yeah, because they're not raising.
What do you mean by that?
Kids are out of the house and in college or whatever, and but they still have money to spend to maybe go to concerts or something like that. I don't know. I'm just kind of dreaming here, but.
So your goal is you want to, take it up a notch. Like, I mean, Pavement is great, right? Which I actually haven't been there. I'm looking forward to going there. I've only played a couple of places in Front Royal so far. I play the Blue Wing Frog a lot. Actually, I'm playing there.
Yeah.
On Thursday, I'm good friends with Sally Mae Foster.
Oh, sure. I know Sally. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. But so Pavement, you love that, but like when you said concerts, but then you're like dreaming you would like to book like a show, not just like background music.
Definitely, I definitely want to. I think you said it well. I want to get to the point where I'm a few notches above where I am, because on the rare occasion I do get to play I don't want to call it a concert. It's hard to call it a concert when there's 15 people there. But
well, I mean, a chamber concert or something,
right? Yeah, like when they're
intimate.
You're not background music. They're not eating. Chairs are facing you.
They're there to see what you're about. They're there
exactly. And those rare opportunities, I feel like I really thrive in that. and you can kind of tell when you're getting through to them. You know, there's something about the body language that you can tell if you've gotten under their skin.
Yeah.
So some more of that, please. However I can do it. Yeah.
So are you actively seeking out establishments that are, are you putting your name out there trying to book like that? Or are you kind of just seeing where it goes in terms of like going to do the local circuit and then see what comes out of that? Like, where are you? Are you seeking or kind of waiting for it to occur?
My current philosophy is I'm trying to play as much as possible, within the constraints of my career and stuff.
Do you work from home? Can I ask that?
I do. Yeah. Post-COVID. Okay. Yeah. I do. At least most days of the week.
Is that like set 9 to 5 and then you work in music around those constraints?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it's I've got some flexibility with my time, which helps a lot sometimes actually.
So you can like take a lunch break and like stop looking at numbers for a second and instead like work on patterns.
Maybe. Yeah. I've never practiced in the middle of the day, but I could get away if I wanted to do a half hour here and there at lunch or something.
You might get too involved in the music and not
right. Yeah. I
back.
might not come back to work. Yeah. I might, to hell with it. I quit. I like this better.
It sounds like you might be on the verge. You've said that a couple of times. So wow. I want to go back to that question though about, it seemed like you were really on track with music. Did you just, also have a love for software engineering and that's a passion as well? Why did you? That was an obvious question, but why?
Yeah, I actually switched into my degree from Ithaca is in psychology of all things.
Interesting.
And then I went to graduate school for a degree in something called systems science. And that gave me some software engineering skills. And that was, I got out of school in 96 and the market was really hot for like, if you could write a lick of code, then you had a job. And, that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. One of the best kind of confluences. Cause, millennials getting out of school, when they got out of school, they were in the middle of a financial crisis, right?
Right.
It really hit. It made me understand how lucky I was when I saw all that happen,
Yeah. Cause you were already in a set spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, the job market was hot when I got out of school, and when a lot of millennials got out of school, it wasn't.
And it wasn't, when you were getting out of school, it wasn't quite, flooded yet.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right now, a lot of people can write code and it's not necessarily, it's like, well, what else can you do?
Yeah.
You can do that, but what do you have that sets you apart? Computers were really just, taking off then in the 90s, especially, home computers, right? PCs, personal computers.
Sure. Yeah.
So let me ask you this then, so psychology, what did you want to do with, you sounds like like you said, a confluence, it was nice timing that you could write code and you got into the career that you did, but so what were you doing with psychology?
I just liked it. Well, at least at first, it was not a difficult degree to get. And that was always a little disappointing because I really felt like I wanted to be more challenged.
Okay.
Than that. And it definitely didn't fulfill like kind of the technical side of me so that's why I went to graduate school for something more.
But you sound like somebody that can like go to the class and maybe skim a few books, take a few notes and like ace the test, right?
Yeah, I was never an A student. I was always a solid B plus, a student, but, I am like very interested in certain kinds of things. So I just kind of let my interest, guide me. And you do that, you end up learning a lot, about something you're interested in, right? Which is, just don't fight the,
flow,
the proclivities that you have and embrace them and leverage them,
Yeah. Where is the overlap for you between psychology and music?
Oh gosh. Well, I suppose when you think about, it helps you put it all together, right? Because the physical instantiation of music is in sound waves that between us, right? It's just in the air. And I just find it so amazingly fascinating that these compressions of rarefactions of air molecules and the patterns in them, when someone plays a chord, and that chord has a certain sonority, and by sonority, I just don't mean like whether or not it's a major chord, but major chords have a happy sound, right? And minor chords have a sadder sound. And each chord has its own sonority in that sense, and whatever feeling that results in the listener, right? And it's just amazing to me that we can, compressions and rarefactions of air molecules can result in that, right? Like it can result in the most sublime experience that we can have, kind of, so that, and there's a lot going on too, right? Because if you so octaves, right? If I sing an A, I think that's around an A. That's about a 110 hertz.
Okay.
Well, an octave above that would be 220. An octave above that would be 440. An octave above that would be 880. And what you get is, it's not a linear curve. It's not a constantly increasing curve. It's actually exponential, right? It's got this knee in it. But to our ear, to our consciousness, it seems like it's a flat, nice, not flat curve, but a straight line. So in other words, there's all sorts of math that our brains are doing on the signal before it's presented to us in our consciousness. And that's why you can have a voicing of a G major chord have the same sonority when you play it in a completely different octave, right? It's still kind of that majory happy sound. It's because our brains are doing all this math that's smoothing out this exponential curve in pitch into what to us sounds like a linear one. If that wasn't the case, then we wouldn't really have sonorities, right? We wouldn't have major or minor, because the octave that you played them in, they would have different sonorities. I'm
keep
going
going.
off the deep end.
No. Keep. I'm thinking about what you said. I'm going to botch it now, but when we started about entropy and how our brains are basically like you said, they're doing all this math to make it. It's almost like when you look, like humans look at things and they want to see faces, like they organize information. We're obsessed with categorizing and putting things in boxes and stuff. And so music allows us to do that, like to the nth degree, like not only with sounds, with feelings, with meaning, symbolism, all those things in a split second.
Right. Yes.
And that's all happening at once. And so now I'm like, you telling me that these these sort of like secrets of psychology and algorithms, if you will, of music and numbers and all the overlaps that there can be there, right? Because it's like combination and permutations of all the possibilities. Do you use that in your arrangements? Like, do you use your knowledge of that? Are you actively trying to okay, I'd like to use this arrangement, in this minor key to elicit this response. Although that a minor key is more, melancholy, but you might want something a little bit more complex than a melancholy. Maybe it's, I don't know, like something that's a reverence for like a past emotion or something. You know what I mean? Like, are you actively like trying to?
I wish I could take credit for that, but I probably can't. It's, it does dovetail with one thing that you mentioned, that, some of the decisions that I make when I come up with an arrangement, looking back, there's like a lot of issues that I consciously might have dealt with that I actually didn't. And the answer kind of comes to you, immediately. Just knowing, even though just how to articulate things, or whether to strum slowly or quickly in one strum, whether to do an upstroke or a downstroke, and how to voice these. Like, all these decisions seem to come very, very quickly.
And in the moment as well. I mean, that's subject to what you're feeling during that performance, or what you're feeling from the crowd. I mean, that's why it makes such a big difference if the crowd is eating and talking amongst each other, or if they're looking at you and engaging with you.
Yeah, that's true. If I definitely feel more focused if I feel like people are focused on me. You know what I mean? I got to up my game a little bit.
Yeah,
if they're
not just trying out new material. I'll do that sometimes. Like, if I'm sort of in the background, I'm like, well, I'm going to try out a song I've never played before, because nobody's really paying attention. So it's good practice for me. And it's almost like when I play places like Blue Wing Frog, which is, they're all original material. So it's a 2-hour set of all original, and everybody's hyper focused on me. And so that is very empowering, but sometimes, a little nerve wracking, because it's like, wow, they're really trying to figure out what I'm all about and what I'm trying to say and what the song meant. And whether I meant, them to glean that emotion that they did from that performance. They did. They people come up with their own meanings of, I'm sure you famously follow Bob Dylan, but like, people would take all sorts of meanings from his songs that he's like, I don't know, I'm just writing.
Does that happen to you? Like, people tell you what it meant to you, and no, that's not what I meant.
I'm better about sort of filtering that out, but it used to happen a lot more when I was younger and first started playing, because I like minor. A minor is probably one of my favorite, or D minor. D minor is arguably like one of the saddest chords. It's just, what do they say? And have you ever seen that movie Spinal Tap, where he's like, you just hear it, you instantly weep. It's very sad.
It's a combination of Bach and Mozart. It's sort of like a mock piece, I think.
Oh, yeah. He does do that. And that was a beautiful piece. But so, people would come up to me and they would say, either I would get one of two reactions, pretty contrasting, pretty polarizing reactions, which was, someone would be like, I really needed that. I really felt that. I was really in that place, and I really needed to hear that, so it was a very cathartic, melancholy song to be played. And then some people would just be like, well, do you have anything more upbeat? Can you really right. Which, they're allowed to say whatever they want to say, but I wasn't as strong in myself. So I would really take it to heart and kind of be like, oh, maybe I should change, how I do it, how I perform this song, or maybe I should write more happy, more upbeat things instead of just kind of, whatever I'm writing is what I'm writing, that's just how it is. And a lot of Americana and folk songs and stuff that I love. Look at Doc Watson or, Townes Van Zandt. Just extremely sad, but incredibly talented, artists.
Yeah. I'd at the risk of unsolicited advice here, I wouldn't listen to people when they ask you to do that, or that voice in your head that says, oh, maybe I'm wrong and they're right. Like, cause you don't know, what's the opportunity cost there, right? Like, you don't know who you're no longer going to reach if you change your approach.
It's inauthentic. If I try and it's almost like it's why I usually don't like sequels to films, because the original film, happened, and whatever magic that there was, and if it was popular, whether it was, sort of an underground popularity or what, it's hard to recreate that. And it's the second one's like trying too hard, or the third one over wherever it might be.
Right. Yeah.
And so I feel that about changing your style. It's like, it's inauthentic to me.
Right. Yeah. And even if you could get a little bit more, popular or whatever by doing that, well, wouldn't you rather get what you're getting by being authentic than a little bit more by not being authentic? Right. It seems well worth
how did you get that seat at the table type of thing?
Yeah. Right.
So in that respect, so you do arrangements of popular songs or so what kind of music, what would you describe what type of musician are you? What's your genre? I hate that question. But
yeah, right. No, it's a good question. So I come up with arrangements mostly of rock from the 60s through the 2000s, but also some jazz and some classical arrangements as well. So I've got a Bach and the Ode to Joy from Beethoven, and well, it wasn't Ode to Joy when Beethoven wrote it, but that's what we call it now.
What does that mean? To go down that tangent, what? It wasn't Ode to Joy?
It was Beethoven. I always get confused between the ninth and the fifth. It was one of them. It's the happy one. The sad, mean one is da 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 da. I forget which one that is. And a few jazz arrangements thrown in here, there. I usually save those when no one's listening anyway, because mostly they, they're not, no one's going to pay any attention anyway.
So why is the jazz, just because jazz is natural, like background music?
Exactly.
Like ambiance music.
Right.
Yeah.
Particularly when a guitar player is playing it without, without a saxophone or something to front it with, Now, your album in 1999, Algorithm, that was all, and it was an instrumental. Is most of what you play, are you an instrumentalist primarily, or do you also use your voice? I do not sing. I make it a point not to sing. I usually say, I know that disappoints you out there, but if I did sing, you'd be even more
do you really say
disappointed.
that?
Yeah. And if they would, I'm not a good singer, so. Yeah.
So do you use then, your playing must be very lyrical, or you try and adapt the voice of the song becomes your instrument, right? The
vocal melody is always there, yeah. So in coming up with an arrangement, what I try to do is kind of honor the song as best I can, and that means chords, bass line, and vocal melody. All played at the same time, one way or the other. And you make compromises where you have to, on that sort of thing. But, that's kind of the spirit of, people should be able to recognize the song. And, a lot of times that's what's fun for the audience too, because they hear the vocal melody and they hear the song, except without the lyrics. They're like, oh gosh, what is this song? It's a name that tune thing happens for them. And they
like before that app that I refuse to get that everybody has. Well, I just want to guess it. Like it drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Like I will, when I can't think of an actor or song or whatever, I try really not to Google it. I want to figure it out.
Right.
So that's like the last resort is looking to it. Although I will use the Google if somebody is saying, oh no, that's not. Like one time I was waiting a table and it was that song, I'm a fool to do your dirty work. Oh yeah. And I was like, a random table was like, I think this is this person. I was like, no, that's Steely Dan. And they were like, no, it's not. And I was like, well, look it up.
Right. Yeah. Now there's an authority you can resolve disagreements with. Yeah. At least. So you, in your arrangements though, how much of it, like how much liberty do you take? Do you consider it like, are you quote unquote remixing? Because you said you want it to be recognizable, but you're also making it your own. So how do you navigate that? So sometimes in certain ways, at least, they kind of write themselves, because if you're trying to take care of the vocal melody and the chords, the vocal melody, it needs to be on top of the chord voicing. So that kind of limits your options.
Go into that a little bit more, especially for listeners who are non-musical.
Oh, sure.
Non-instrumentalists or, don't have the training in there. What do you mean it means to be on top?
The highest note in the chord voicing. I got my guitar right here, actually.
Yeah, please.
Let's see. Let's see if we can...
That's a very beautiful guitar.
Oh, thanks. Brand new, actually.
Nothing like that new bass smell.
Yeah. Is it coming through? Can you hear it?
Yes.
Great. In let's just take a major chord, vanilla chord. Let's take E. I could play that voicing the root notes on the top. There, the third is on the top, so major chords are built off of the first, third, and fifth notes of that scale. And right up here, the fifth is on top. And by top, I mean the highest note in the voicing. So if the singer's singing a G sharp over an E chord, I'll probably go to that kind of voicing. I might spread it out too. I might drop this note down an octave, for example, but it's still the top note is on top. So that's what I basically meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
I always try and for people who are listening, and if we get too much into the musical jargon, I don't want to lose somebody. And I also want the the educational element. I feel like you're so knowledgeable, and I really love to highlight that. I feel like you should be doing little tutorials on Instagram, hey, this is this, and this is what voicing means, and that that would be so. I would love to see that.
Well, if I do that in the future, I have actually had that thought, and I'm going to have you to blame for it. Actually, or you can take some credit, because I actually bought this whole getup, this whole microphone getup.
Yeah, it's
because
nice.
we were doing this today. Yeah. And by the way,
what is it? I need to know for my tech obsession.
Let's see. It is an Audio-Technica AT2035 PK, and I guess PK
nice.
might be for pack. So
okay. Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, thanks. This is my recording mic that when I decided to do podcasts, I was like, well, this is a really nice compression mic. Yeah. I don't necessarily have the finances right now to reinvest in it, but I've been checking out some different podcast mics, seeing what they're all about. And that one sounds very nice and balanced on your voice, and I actually picked up the guitar very well.
Oh, good. Yeah. The guitar was actually going through another input too. I tested that out. So,
that makes sense.
And so if you heard some chorus and reverb on that, that's actually why.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to play a little bit for us? I mean, I know you just put it down.
Yeah, sure. After 5 hours and the last 18.
Do you, what do you do to remedy, soak your hand in Epsom salt?
No, it's okay. If it gets really bad, which it's pretty rare, and the more you play, the harder your calluses get.
Yeah.
I just happen to be in a situation where, playing for 3 hours, going to sleep, and then playing for 2 hours was a little too much. But that's okay.
You didn't get a break.
Yeah.
I won't make you play for 3 hours.
Yeah, thanks for that. No, I actually would. I'd be perfectly happy to do that. All right. How long do we got? Do we got 3 or 4 minutes, or?
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds the right amount. I trust you to provide us with the right allotment of time.
Let's see. I always like doing the Crosby, Stills and Nash one. Sweet Judy Blue Eyes from Crosby, Stills and Nash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really a treat.
Thanks very much.
You definitely need to be in a place where people are hyper-focused. Actually, no, what I was thinking is that with the resonance that you have on that guitar, it would be really great to hear you in like an outdoor festival. Like, I mean, I would imagine like hearing you today at the Festival of Leaves playing something like that would be really lovely outside in the sunshine. And yeah, thank you for, I'm enjoying the shredding that you've got.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was, I can't speak to how it sounded down the street, but, I was certainly happy with how it came out, today.
Yeah. I mean, outside is always tricky, depending on where you're at and how it soaks up the sound and, whether it travels out or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you play with, did they have a PA system or did you have your own little setup?
No, I'm pretty self-sufficient. I got a few years ago, I bought one of those Bose towers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And that thing makes me sound better. I like it. Pardon me.
So you it's just one tower then?
Yep. Just one tower. Yeah. Yeah. I don't come in stereo, I guess. That thing, improves on what comes out of my Line 6 amplifier over here.
Well, then I need to see you live, because if it's improving what you're already doing, then it's got to be phenomenal.
Thanks very much.
So are you completely self-trained, or, I mean, I know you said that you came from a very supportive family.
Yeah.
But did you take any lessons from anybody? Have you taken lessons? Or are you self-taught?
Certainly. I mean, I started out in sixth grade teaching lessons.
Teaching or receiving lessons?
I'm sorry, receiving lessons. I was by ninth grade.
I was like, damn, you're in sixth grade.
I know. Yeah, it happened,
the other 12-year-olds.
That actually started happening. One of my first jobs was as a guitar teacher in ninth grade. So I started teaching at the studio that I was taking lessons at. And in high school, I had my band director got me into saxophone, and he got me into jazz band, and he got we had a 7-piece small jazz group, and so he had me just all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. And on top of that, I was in rock band after rock band, and also had started taking piano lessons with a piano teacher who kind of heard me just noodling around with it at the music studio that I was teaching at. So I started taking lessons from him in ninth grade there too. And a couple of years later, I was able to get into Ithaca College as a piano major.
Oh, wow. So you went there as a piano major and then switched?
Initially, yeah. I realized I didn't want to do music pretty quickly.
What made you realize that?
Gosh, I started getting interested in other things, and I just felt like if I can expand into another direction, I don't know, something about how my mom and dad would tell me how to be well-rounded or something. Something that kind of stuck.
So you were like, I've already mastered this. Let's go to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, no, I can't say I've mastered anything, but it was enough where I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for something new.
Do you feel like your life would have had a different trajectory if you'd stuck with piano major instead of? Oh
yeah, I did not like where that was going. That being a music teacher, I was actually a music education major on piano. That was you have to have an instrument but the major was music education. And I realized pretty quickly I didn't want to do that, and it just seemed kind of limiting. For not necessarily so musically limiting. You can have a really musical day when you're a teacher like that.
Did you feel like it was too constraining? Like, I mean, you think about, as Sandra said, like music in a very unique way, and you feel like maybe they were like it was too, like the pedagogy was too much, like.
Maybe that had a little something to do with it. Yeah, the conservatory kind of attitude is, I have enormous respect for it. And I took all the music theory classes in college and stuff, and was as involved as I could be as a non-music major. But they weren't teaching me how to be a shredder in heavy metal, but that's a legitimate thing too. It's, not only is it awesome, but it's, that's just as hard to do in a lot of ways as learning Bach and Paganini and
for sure
and all that.
And so, I mean, I think depending on, I guess I would imagine some of that has changed depending on which music school you're going to. Like they're embracing more genres and not just classical,
right?
So
you can imagine, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Conservatories not embracing jazz, right, and seeing it as it's not, legitimate, academically legitimate music. But
it's so polyrhythmic too that it can kind of drive some people off the deep end. They're like, I can't take
right. Yeah,
this is playing a completely different line than this piano, and
a lot of notes is fine, but a lot of rhythms is not right. Maybe it's something like that.
It can throw somebody off.
Yeah.
So you realized,
I'm sorry,
you didn't want to do that. I was just going to say back to, you realized that it was not what you were about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just felt this impulse to get involved in other things that were completely different, but that I was still really, really interested in,
Are you from New York?
Yeah. I grew up in Westchester County, which is the county just north of the city.
Okay. So did you go down into the city and like enjoy all the jazz and all the different
not nearly enough.
Clubs?
Not nearly enough. That would, I guess, happen once in a blue moon. But
I was saying, when I was a kid, like I grew up in, obviously Rappahannock Radio, Rappahannock County, born and raised, but like that was like, going to New York would have been like the dream come true, or like LA. I did go to LA when I was like 16. Playing music, and thought it was like I was a real big shot. Nothing happened.
Right. No, I see. But, us New Yorkers don't go to the Statue of Liberty either. We gotta take for granted what we've got up there. And so I guess I'm slightly ashamed to admit, I didn't get enough jazz. I mean, you
didn't go into the Village and take advantage of all the folk clubs and all of that stuff.
I can't say I did. I mean, I was playing like in high school and in college. I was playing so much jazz and being educated by people who knew what they were doing in it. So my high school was 10 minutes away, and New York was an hour and a half away. So something to that anyway.
So you said you played in a lot of different bands. Do you miss playing with an ensemble, or when you were with Sandra, you guys played in a group? Right?
Yeah,
I saw a video.
Yeah, we had a 3-piece. Yeah. I loved playing with Slow Creek. I was a pig and slop. Because Sandra's from Southwest Virginia, so she's got this twang to her voice, and she writes great songs. And Jeremy, the upright bass player, he writes great songs too, and he's a really, really strong musician. Very creative guy. He writes novels and invents board games and
wow.
And
sounds like I need to have him on here too.
Yeah, you should. If I made the cut. If I'm creative enough to make the cut, then definitely Jeremy should be. He's out there. Check him out. He's got his band's called Helltown Riff Raff right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram. Yeah. I've seen a few things that they do. Yeah.
But I love playing with Slow Creek because the songs that they wrote. I'm not much of a songwriter at all, but the songs that they wrote were really nice, and it was just this weird juxtaposition of Sandra kind of, rhythm guitar and having a Southwest Virginia twang.
Like the Americana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I piled on top of that all my jazzy, metally kind of stuff in an acoustic setting, and it somehow worked. And I thought what we had was really unique, and Jeremy, and having an upright bass in a band is just particularly when there's only three of it's wonderful. I love the sound, and Jeremy was a great player, great songwriter. So it was, but hey, Sandra, got married and had a couple kids, and she's a nurse, and
life got busy. Yeah,
life got busy, and pandemic happened, and but that's okay. I mean, to answer your question fully, I like what I'm doing now. I don't really miss playing in a band that much. I do miss, I guess, the camaraderie of it all.
Yeah, that is fun. It's fun to be able to be like, hey, this, what's going on with this place when you show up, or, or that was a really great audience, or, afterwards, like that was,
right,
to be able to discuss the experience.
Totally. Yeah. Cause you're going through the same thing, from only slightly different perches.
Right.
But I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now, and it's total, I don't compromise. I don't negotiate on creative things. I do right. what I think is appropriate, 100% of the time. And,
you get kind of spoiled playing by yourself.
Yeah, right. Well, I couldn't possibly join a band now. Yeah.
No, I feel that way right now too, because I spent so many years, playing with my dad, or we had a band, and I do really miss playing with my dad, but there's something really liberating about playing by yourself and being able to, do a whole show by yourself and switch into whatever, mode you want to, like, hey, let's speed it up, or let's slow it down, or let's do this song, and, the dynamic of a band is great. But they both, they have their pros and cons. Playing by yourself, you definitely have all of the creative control.
Right. Yeah. And all the responsibility.
Right. So if you mess up, you can't blame it on anybody else.
No one knows.
Was me.
No one's wondering who it was.
Do you feel like people are like, unless they're hyper focused, like, we're on two different playing fields, though. I am not the instrumentalist that you are. I consider myself like a vocalist and a songwriter. Yeah. So I use that to carry what's going on and, make jokes and stuff. But do you feel like, I feel like when I have a mishap, of course, there's somebody out there like, well, I noticed, but I don't really feel like people notice. Like, I feel like most people are so involved in what they're doing. Like, do you ever have mishaps? I guess that's what I'm asking you. Do you have
sure. Yeah. They happen. I do this open mic night, in Strasbourg every Sunday night, at the Box Office Brewery up there. And, there was one just like super obvious flub that I don't know where it came from or what was possessing me at the time.
You just hit a random note.
Yeah, and there are
like your fingers are like da 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 the G.
Yeah, and it was kind of like that. And there's a lot of musicians in the audience there, so they were like, "Whoa!" With that.
My cat has come to steal the spotlight. Oh, right. I knew it was going to happen.
That's cool.
So what's next? Where can we have Pavement? You're doing a regular thing there, right?
Yeah, I'll be there on the 30th.
Okay.
For brunch, and that's a Sunday for brunch. Playing at a law firm on Tuesday. I'm taking a little bit of time off of work. Yeah, I know.
That sounded like like the beginning of like a Joni Mitchell song or something. Playing at a law firm on Tuesday.
It totally could be. Yeah.
How random is that? Is it like a sort of like a luncheon or something that they've?
Oh, it's at 4:00, so I can't say it's a luncheon exactly. I forget what the event is.
Is this a connection you made through your music or through your software engineering or both?
Through music. Yeah,
okay.
I can't remember how we hooked up. Now as I think about it. I don't have an answer for you.
It's a pretty unique gig, though, I have to say. In all the years I've known musicians, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they're going to play at a law firm on a Tuesday.
No, that's one where I'm probably doing this just for the money. There's not a lot.
It's funny to say that as a musician, though. To say, I'm just in it for the money.
Right. Yeah. Well,
people are like, great, you're working really hard to make $200.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. With Slow Creek, though, we were lucky to split $300 one way, or three ways, I should say. And now I get to.
I know you get to.
It's kind of nice. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
That's what I realized as well. And not to sound shallow again, because I'm like, oh, it's about the money. But really, you're getting paid to sit and play your music, your arrangement. You get to showcase your talent, your creativity, and share that. And that's pretty amazing. But yeah, that's why I started going out and doing, winery gigs and stuff like that, because it's just me by myself. And I want to be able to, stay home with my kids. So between Rappahannock Radio and doing musical performances, if it's just you can make a good, chunk of money doing that. So there's no shame in
that's doing one of the first things I noticed, honestly. Yeah. So,
you're like, whoa. Yeah. If I have a couple, of these every weekend, then
I know,
it's not bad.
Don't tell them you do it for free,
That's a great
your negotiating leverage.
Meme or bumper sticker, right? I'm a musician. Don't ever let them know I do it for free.
Right, yeah, exactly. Don't ever let them know they can underpay me even more.
Right. Well, it takes a lot of preparation. Like you said, you're thinking about it.
Yeah, we don't get paid for the practice time, right?
Yeah, you don't get paid for the practice time, for the driving time, for, all the gear you need to accrue for all the different, I'm sure you're at the level now where you can be working, your day job, and then you're thinking about arrangements, or can you listen to music and stuff while you're working from home? So are you kind of multitasking like that?
I can put on a symphony and still stay pretty focused. But I don't necessarily like to do that. I do find I think musicians find music more distracting than non-musicians.
I'm definitely that person. It's like, I'm getting close to my destination. I need to turn down the music.
Right. Yeah. I need to start paying attention to stop signs and things. Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay, hold on. Okay. So you've got the luncheon on Tuesday. You've got Pavement on the 30th for brunch, and you're open to, this is going to be, for, all audiences, not just for my subscribers. So anybody out there who's listening, who's interested, you're open to booking performances, right?
Yes.
Especially ones that are more intimate settings, highlighting the music.
Yes. Right? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's my preference. I'll do either.
You're like, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of the deal I have with myself is to just get out there and play as much as you can.
So it's sort of like if somebody offers you a gig, you take it deal.
Yeah. And what I notice is that for most people, the music goes in one ear and out the other. They're not, it's background music. I understand that happens to me sometimes. But like 5%, maybe 10%, I think that's a little generous, but, that they really appreciate it. Like maybe people who play instruments themselves. And there's like this 1% of the population that don't play an instrument, but are really into like really good, like really progressive music. Like I had this set of friends in high school. They didn't play instruments, but they loved Rush and they loved Yes and they loved Genesis. They could tell that the complexity of the sound. Number one, they liked it, and number two, that they could tell that it was being played by really good musicians, and they had a natural appreciation for it. And I've met other people like that too throughout the course of my life. They're very rare, but they're there. Anyway,
diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, right. And when no one seems to be listening at a gig, that's fine, because number one, I'm getting paid, and number two, I'm not doing it alone in my living room.
Yeah.
And number three, there's maybe one or two out there that I'm getting through to, and just they're just not clapping because no one is,
And you, right, just
it's like they gotta fit in,
It's funny because I did my first performance back was at Blue Rock, and the stage is like way down by like the pond, and their outdoor deck is,
Is this a winery?
It's a fine dining, like inn. Like they have a fine dining section, but like a bar grill area, and then it's an inn. So it's Blue Rock Inn in Rappahannock County, and it's a great setting.
Right next to the Griffin.
It's not in Flint Hill. It's across from the high school, from the Rappahannock High School.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
But it's a great setting. But you're so far away from the audience.
Oh, right.
That they have like these nice fire pits and chairs and stuff. And so like when it was daytime and less cold, because, I played till like 8:30, so it was dark and getting a little chilly.
Yeah.
People were more up on the patio, but my one friend Ellie, who I love so much, she's my biggest fan. She stuck it out, and she's like really listening to the material, and she knew which songs were new and stuff like that. And it was great, but she was like the only person clapping, or at least that I could hear. Because it turned out later on people were clapping up in the patio, but I couldn't hear them. So it's like whenever I would stop a song, if she didn't clap right away, I'd be like, Ellie. She'd be like, oh, right. Yeah.
Right.
But the clapping, feedback is such an interesting, like you said, you're trying to, it's nice to gauge the audience, because I don't know I always write a set list, but I don't necessarily stick to it in the order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I do the
I
same thing.
will change it up depending on what I'm feeling or what I feel like, the audience
the state of the crowd. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What they're needing. Which is again goes, we'll have to do another interview talking about the psychology of it.
Right. Yeah.
When you're like, start a song and you're like, okay, bail, get out of this song as soon as possible. This isn't working.
Yes.
But I don't remember how we got started on that. I got sidetracked. I guess you said clapping.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Just because they're not clapping doesn't mean they're not listening. And I guess to speak to that more directly would be, they say you should always give it 100% because you never know. You never know who's listening. And
definitely, yeah. And you might as well.
Why not?
You might as well practice. And I'm not a perfect practitioner of this, but you might as well practice giving it your 100% too, so you don't have to think about it when it really comes down to
exactly
the important moments when someone really important is listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine's dad, who excellent musician, bassist, was in a group around here called Stick 'Em Up. His name is Mike Doyle. He one time told me, he was like, you really know a song when you can sing it in your sleep. Like
Right.
when it's so effortless, you don't even have to. It's like second nature.
Yeah. Yep. That's actually kind of dovetails with what I go through with these arrangements, because it takes me a couple of nights usually to come up with them. And then
are you dreaming about
takes, I can't, not dreaming necessarily, but they are kind of cycling in my mind. But it takes me a couple of months to get them really under my fingers, where they're, to get them to flow, where it has that kind of, I don't say grace necessarily or anything like that, but there's a, you can tell I'm no longer struggling with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
it's at the right tempo and everything.
Yeah. And I'm not like, where do I go next? Oh yeah, here. And it's a lot smoother than that.
It was such a pleasure to have you on Rappahannock Radio today.
You too. Thank you for the opportunity, Kaya. This was enjoyed the conversation very much.
Yeah, I did as well, and I hope to see you in person. I'm going to try and make it out with get a schedule with the kids and get a babysitter and come out and see live music, because I just love music. So
great. Okay. All right.
Would love to hear.
I knew I liked you for a reason.
Thank you. And I want to hear, you mentioned Yes. So can you do an arrangement of Owner of a Lonely Heart?
Oh, I can do the beginning.
Wow.
So,
thank you. I was actually thinking later on, but you did it right on the spot. That's great.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying. Work on one, and then you were like, "I've got it right here."
Oh, yeah.
That's a useful skill.
I don't like taking requests, I notice, but I kind of just
sorry,
like,
I don't like it either.
Yeah.
People will come up and tip me and be like, "Do you know any Eagles?" And then in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Oh, I guess I got to learn some Eagles."
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
So I decided I'll do a Jackson Brown song that the Eagles covered.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Take It Easy.
Oh, nice. Okay. There you go.
Well, again, thank you so much. I'll get working on this. I feel like we did pretty well. I don't think I have to edit it out a lot.
Okay, good. Okay. That's probably a lot of hard work. I know
it can
Sandra
be.
Sandra does videos for me,
sure.
And I know she takes a lot of time to do them. And anyway, so thanks for that. But I appreciate the interview, Kai. This was a lot of fun, and this is kind of a big deal for me. So thanks, and
absolutely,
congratulations again on the new member of your family.
Thank you so much.
It's like the most important thing that ever happens, right? So,
right. I know everything else is like that's what real life is.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Everything else can fall down around you as long as the family's good.
Right. There you go.
All right. Thanks, Joe. I'll be in touch.
Thank you. Okay, man.
Right. Bye.
Thanks, Kyle.